Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this afternoon, which is all about driving better culture through leading and managing staff. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for registering for this webinar. This must be a high topic because this is one of the biggest webinars we've had this year. So
a lot of interest.
A lot of interest. Over 70 people who have signed up for this webinar, and which is absolutely fantastic. So that just goes to show there's an appetite for companies wanting to get that culture right in the business. Just before we start, we just want to do a bit of a sound check. So just want to know, can you all hear myself clearly? If you could just go into the chat box and say, yes, Cole, I can see the screen, I can hear you clearly, and we'll get this webinar started. So come on, don't be shy. Just put something in the chat box. I want to make sure it's very important that that you can see and hear what we're actually doing. Here we go. Yes, hearing you clearly. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Mandy. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So let me get into it. So let's get started. Here we go. Come on, Bob. Beautiful. And what a beautiful sunny day it is down here this morning, Al.
Gorgeous today.
Okay, so this webinar, these are the topics we're going to cover. Understanding the value of having a great culture, understanding the difference between leaders and managers. I think that's really, really important. And linking strategy to people and performance. So again, about that accountability and making sure that we've got people that are doing their job of what they need to do. And then we'll engage, lively with a Q&A session towards the end. For those who don't know me, my name is Colin Wilson. I'm the owner of Key Business Advisors. We've been going for 16 years. Absolutely love what I do. Very passionate about taking business from good to great, which is our catchphrase. Yep. And definitely we know what success looks like in a business because we go in every day and try and help our clients achieve that. And what's very important to me is we practice what we preach, and we've just had a team session this morning, and we all talked about that being match fit and ready. So that's a little bit about me. And Alison, tell us a bit about yourself. This is my wonderful partner in crime.
Thank you. So I've been in HR for 16 years, in that realm, in all sorts of varying roles. I have lots of experience in various industries. And very similar to Cole, I absolutely love my job.
So, we do, yeah. We do. And I think that's half the battle of making sure that you build a good culture. You've got to find passionate people. Yeah. Okay, what is really important to us, and anyone who does any work with us will know, we always go back to this, the holy grail of your mission, vision, purpose, and values. But if I just pick out two here, our mission is to take business from good to great. So what does good look like? What does great look like? And I think, that's really, really important to try and get those foundations right within a business. Yeah. And our purpose is to take our customers on a journey to help them through all aspects of employee engagement and performance. Because one of the things we know, Alison, is if we've got really good engagement with the team, the performance just happens.
Well, yeah? We had that example this morning.
Yes, so, that's right. That's and again, it is about just, I can't echo that enough, that if the team want to be there and work together as a team, the performance just happens. So I think that's, really, really important. The pillars of our business, and I think very strong with this, we're all about, having some sort of business, having a good plan, business strategy and growth. So what's our strategy with the business? How are we going to grow? We're all about people and culture. So making sure that we've got the right team, the culture's good. We're an outsourced HR business. There's a team of 6 professionals led by Alison, and we do a lot of leadership and sales training. So which is unique combined, but one of the things that I really pride myself on is when I do leadership sessions or sales training, we bring the principles of the other 3 all together in that training. Well. And then we know it works well. Okay, so Alison, so let's get into our very first topic. So understanding the value of having a great culture. So if I ask you, why is that important?
Without a culture, a great culture, the business is not going to be productive or as financially successful. And it's proven time and time again, the more the team culture is, well, the better it is, the happier your team, the happier the staff, and the more productive they are as well. So it's a win-win. You've got happy staff and financial results fall into play as a result. So.
Yeah, and as it says there, I think, attitudes, right? So again, part of why we do the HR side of things is to put those processes in place and put in what I call best practice. But if we've got a team that have poor attitude or not on the same page, And that makes it very, very difficult
Yeah.
to have really good culture. And I think, to me, values. So what are our values? What are our core principles of what we do? And do your employees share the business core values and principles of what the business actually stands for? And I think, again, this communication that builds good culture is setting goals. And, we know this, COVID's well and truly gone, but we know that from, the companies that we worked with, that the better the strategy and the pathway of leading out of COVID, the better the team engaged with that particular business.
Yeah.
And we saw, the other side of it as well, the lack of communication, the lack of engagement, and we know, some of those businesses really, really struggled.
Yeah, it came down to the trust.
It always comes back to trust. But I think having some really good goals and objectives of where you want to take your business, and we work with business and say, Colin, we do the same thing. We're always doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Like so. But again, we talk about, well, what does success look like for the business? What does it look like for for the leader? What does it look like for the staff? What does it look like for your customers? And set some goals around that. And I've got a newsletter that's coming out next week, which really talks about running a proactive business. So make sure you look out for that. But all of this, which leads to job satisfaction and performance. And Alison says it all the time. I love my job.
Do.
Right, and so does our team, because I think that's part of the success of having people in the business that really love what they do. And then the quality of work comes from that, and it sort of like links hand in hand. So culture is everything in a business. And when we talk about culture, it is, if you've got a situation where the culture is not right or it's a bit toxic, then you've got to try and do something about that to try and fix that. And we hear a lot about, well, it's hard to recruit, but if you can get your company in a situation where it's a well-oiled machine, people will want to come and work for you, and that's just part of.
It's always fixable.
It's always fixable,
always
yeah.
Fixable.
And it's constantly, you're always got to be constantly trying to improve on what you're trying to do. Okay, so why is team culture important? Alice, take us through this, Alison.
Okay, so it keeps your retention levels higher. Obviously, the happier your team are, the longer they'll stay. So unhappy people leave the business. So the retention also helps with the continuation of the IP of the business, because obviously we all know the longer people stay, the more IP they have within the business as well. It's less cost to the business, and it's not just money when you have to recruit, but it's time, it's stress, it's more pressure on the rest of the team members as well. Team culture leads to engagement. So, and this also comes back to your communication and trust as well. So when you've got really good engagement, everyone's enthusiastic, everyone wants to work together, and they're happy to put their hand up and boots on and muck in, as they say. So it also leads to employee development. So whether you've got a big business or a small business, the higher the level of the team culture is, the more development you'll see amongst the team members, which is fantastic to sit back and watch as well. So not sure if a lot of you have a skills map or developmental and training programs in place, but they're always good. And inclusion, everybody wants to feel included as part of the business. And as Colin just said, we saw a lot of that in COVID. The more open and honest that employers were, the more inclusive the employee felt, and they felt safer in that environment as well.
And I think this is the year where when, 2024, the work that we've been doing for lots of our clients has definitely been around, how do I improve? How do we get better? We don't want to make major changes. We just want to become, better at what we do, better match fit, better culture, better teamwork, better engagement. So I think, it's really important that's got to be part of your focus. And I think, this is done through, communication, team meetings, training sessions. So I think it's important to make sure that we're working on that. And, when you have an owner who says, or a manager who says, we don't have time, we don't have time, we don't have time, then that also can disrupt a message of what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so there's a quote here. Did you know that an employer of choice will have a staff retention rate of 90% or higher? So if we've got the team right, and we've got all of our process and systems and our communication right, then, we're going to have a really high retention rate.
Yeah.
And that's achievable in today's economic climate. I think the rats, what do you call it? The race of getting another job or swapping and changing, all that's now changed. Things have settled down. Now, we talk about it when we do recruitment. The interviewee is actually interviewing the interviewer, right? As opposed to the other way around. But where did you get these stats from, Al?
So there was a report through ARI, which is a human resources body.
Yep.
And then there's been a few other reports as well, but this particular one was through ARI.
Yeah, okay. So 90% or higher. So again, and one of the things we say when we do a lot of management training is, like, if you don't address poor performing staff, you'll actually lose your good ones, right? You'll lose your key staff. So it's important that we have this common ground of what we're trying to do, which brings us to this next slide, which is around employer of choice. And feel free if you want to put some questions in the chat box as we go, because to me, what's important is this is interactive. So, but what makes a business an employer of choice? So I'll give this to you, Al.
Thank you. So a lot of people think it's just all money. It's not just all money. So employees are looking at what other benefits, and they will do their research before they come to the interview, and they will interview the business as well. So does the business have a good reputation? Is there good culture, good communication? Do the managers and leaders provide constructive feedback regularly, not just at their performance reviews? Are they managed daily? And we say this all the time in my team. When you manage staff, it's a daily occurrence, because you don't leave it until something goes wrong or something right. You manage every single day. Is there boomerang feedback? Can they give you feedback which helps you to develop and make sure that you're being held accountable as well? Is there flexibility? That's huge at the moment. I'm sure everyone would agree. What benefits do you have on offer? So it's not just money, but do you have lunches? Do you have catch-ups? Do you do awesome training sessions? So training on the job, other training venues, etc.
I think also too, like, just some of the small things, and companies do it, right? But we offer wellbeing days. If you've been in our business for more than 12 months, you get your birthday off. I mean, they're little benefits, if I can say. And for those who do know of myself and Lorraine and this business, we went overseas for 4 weeks to go and see our daughter in London. When she got back, she wrote a postcard to everyone thanking them and gave them all a small gift. I mean, it's the 1%ers. I think sometimes that appreciation, gratefulness really helps contribute to being an employer of choice. So again, they're the little benefits that's what we do, and love to hear some of the things that you do that'll help your business. But we're very much about making sure that our staff want to come to work and want to, if I use that word, go above and beyond to try and help, satisfy our customers with the output of work we do. That's just the culture of our business, the can-do attitude of our business. Okay, so Alison's going to go through some examples with businesses that, with great team culture. And these are more, top 500s who spend a lot of time and effort to try and, have a successful organisation, not a business, an organisation. So Alison, we've got Microsoft, Google, HubSpot, Mega Brands, Canva, Art Centre Melbourne,
Atlassian. So a lot of those are Australian businesses that I've specifically put in there as well. So I think it made it a little bit more easier to understand why these businesses, without going into an in-depth conversation on each, I've just put on the next slide some examples as to why they were considered great by their employees. So they nurture their talent. So instead of recruiting from outside, they'll recruit from inside. They'll have skills maps and developmental and training programs in place. And obviously that's easier for bigger businesses, not so easy for smaller ones. There's flexible working arrangements. They're proactive in setting the scene for the employees. And what that means is they're able to work out what the employees may need and be proactive with what the outcomes can be before it comes to the question being asked. Inclusivity, equality, that seems crazy, but that is a huge one where a lot of businesses not necessarily fail, but forget potentially to put some deeper understanding behind it. Transparency, and we found this huge in COVID. And as I said already, the more transparent that employers were, the more comfortable and the employees were, and the longer that they retained those staff. Empathetic approach to your leadership, a place where everyone loves to come to work. And some of these places also have what's called a buddy system, which is fantastic. So new employees will have a buddy allocated to them for a period of time to help them settle in and to get a really deeper understanding of the business as well.
Yeah, and look, for anyone who's done, you know, I've done a bit of management training this month, but you know, we talk about, you know, when you onboard a staff member, just how important that is of getting everyone in your business to engage with that person and create a bit of a buddy system to help with the training. So. And again, you can also use your suppliers as well. So your suppliers, you know, there are organisations out there that have created like a learning hub, you know, or, you know, so here's some, you know, this is, you know, about our product range. I mean, if it's a well thought out plan on, you know, starting a new staff member or taking a staff member to that next level, will all improve, you know, the culture. I know we've got a good example of that in our business, and I like to always refer back to our business because that's important to me, but you know, we have a gentleman in our business, David. You know, we sat down, we did a review with him. We talked about, you know, what are some of your aspirations and that, and you know, he talked about how we'd like to do a bit more training. And now we've set it up like, you know, he's my succession plan. Come in, start doing some training, take some work off me, and you know, and what's the word I can say is he's into it, he's doing it, and his words are, I'm made for this. And I think that that reflects in the work that he's doing with his clientele. So again, that's a good outcome. That's a win-win. That's a really good example of a win-win. And Alison, who's beside me, that's another good example of succession planning. She runs the entire HR team. I just go to her for advice with our clients and stuff like that, and the high level stuff, and it just works beautifully. Okay, let's talk about the reverse. So examples of businesses with no or low self-esteem or cultures. Now you've picked 3 companies here, which is really interesting: Uber, Amazon, and Forever 21. Now, I don't know about you, and again, feel free to put some comments out here, but when Uber first kicked in, you would get someone who would rock up, open a door for you, give you a bottle of water, and the car was immaculately clean. Yeah. And I don't see the same of today.
No.
Okay. So I know it would resonate with people that are in this webinar. But yeah, talk to us a bit about this. Do I need to go to the next slide?
Next slide, please. So again, rather than going through each, all 3 have pretty bad culture. So sexism and toxic behaviour was pretty high on the list, rotten from the top. So if management's not good, then the rest of the team isn't going to be good as well. Lack of transparency, again, it goes back to that same message. Emails being sent late and responses expected. We had done something similar recently with the right to disconnect law that came in with the recent closing loopholes legislation that Fair Work have introduced. So if anyone in this webinar does do late emails, my recommendation would be to do a delayed delivery. So you have done your job and it's not going to impact the other person until they get to work. Unrealistic timeframes on the team. Pay is, and some of those were underpayments as well. The environment and no professional development. So again, it goes back to that training skills map as well.
And I'm laughing because I did a session last week with a national company, and we talked about sending emails or making phone calls.
Yeah.
And a poor guy in the room says, I just want to let everyone know is when you send me an email or ring me at 7 a.m. in Melbourne, it's 4 a.m. in Perth, right? So and again, that's just this mindfulness. And again, we can do things like with Microsoft now, we can delay send an email, or we can send an email, but it doesn't actually get delivered at this particular time. So again, there are things that we can do, and that's all about building culture and an employer of choice. And how many times, Alison, where there's been a scenario of bullying or harassment that has come through where the staff member can show evidence of an email being sent at 11 p.m. at night demanding an answer, and again, you just got to have that agreement with the team, with individual staff members. I mean, there are people on this webinar that got people in shift work. Well, that would be expected.
Yeah, or on call.
Or on call. But if they're not, then, again, and the way it works, just for information, is if I say I'm a manager and I send an email, I get it off my chest, right? So I've cleared my mind. I can go to bed and have a sleep, but think about what I'm doing to that person who's, in most cases of today, people have a phone next to their bed. It's going off. They pick it up, look at it. Is it urgent? Especially when it goes ping, 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 ping.
Yeah.
Then again, they then have a disgruntled night's sleep, and if it's capital letters and 4-letter words, that is just a no-no, right? So and again, I'm making a bit of a joke here, but I've got to tell you, this actually happens out there. So again, it is about making sure that we run a professional business to ensure that we are an employer of choice. Okay, very good, Al.
Thanks.
So staff engagement is everything. So for me, the more aligned the team is, the more productive it will be. And that goes back to, I harp on about what's your strategy, what's your strategic plan of your business, what's your vision, where do you want to take the business? And when the staff can see where they fit into that, then I think that, that's part of taking them on a journey, showing the pathway of where we want to go. Engagement is having everyone on the same page and fully committed. So again, we see it when we raise the bar and we have that high energy in our business of, we're a winning team, we want to perform. What tends to happen is the people who don't want to play at that level, they tend to leave.
Fizzle out.
Yeah, that's right. And, and that's okay, right? And I think everyone should want to work more collaboratively, being more cohesive. Now, cohesiveness is around building trust with one another. And, we can have a conversation. This is not right for the business, or this is not right for our clients. We totally get committed on the outcomes of the business. We hold each other accountable, and the results just actually happen. So I think, again, that is massive on what we want to achieve in a business. And this is what our recommendation is. I think, again, we how can I put it? So we talk to some business owners and they're worried about having some straight talk with their staff members about their performance. But again, you got to think about, we give you an employment contract, we pay you a wage, we have a position description that outlines your role. So staff need to take more ownership and responsibility to achieve the company goals and objectives. And again, it goes back to the leader who's always communicating those goals and objectives of what we want to achieve. I think it's really important. And you need to have good synergy and communication. So office banter in today's world, we want that. We want to have a good culture, but we just don't want to cross the line where it's being directed at somebody or pointed out to somebody. And again, there's a whole heap of laws, and that's what the HR team look after and put out fires with. But we want to have, some good banter with one another. And again, we talk about, personality profiling. How do we actually understand how the different profiles work? Because again, once you get that, and you can get that happening within your team, you just actually achieve better results.
Yeah.
And that good old saying, team, so there's no I in the word team, but together everyone achieves more. In companies we go into, we have different nationalities, we have different age brackets, we have different personalities. And that alone sometimes is enough to scare you. Why do I want to be a manager? Why do I want to run a business? But the outcome is, if you can get that working and it works well, then I always say, just add another 25, 30% to your bottom line, because that's what's going to happen when you've got a high performing team. All right. So, and again, if anyone wants to make a comment on that, then I think, please go for it. Put it in the chat box. Because we do this on a daily basis, out there with our clients. So take us through this next slide, please, Al.
So how to make sure your business has a great team culture. We've got a couple of things just listed down here. Is have a really clear vision that every employee understands, and they've bought into it as well. So are they on the same page? Everyone's got the same interests. You have really good habits within the business as well. Is it an innovative business? And is there consistency? So your messages and actions are exactly the same. So Dimitri's just added something here. Any comments on a high team culture with people motivated and having WhatsApp chat group messages on improvements, humour with messages any time of the day on weekends as well. No forcing on using it, but people are in. Any remarks on safety to be sure it is not used as a late messaging, just in case.
Well, again, I think that goes back to business rules. If I can answer that, and you
Yeah,
can correct
yeah,
me.
absolutely.
I think a business rules is what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to send a message to Alison over the weekend, I would actually do that between us, not with the whole WhatsApp group. So
Yeah.
again, we see a lot of companies that someone might put a message in the WhatsApp group that's directed at somebody, and then it can make it a little bit uncomfortable. But I think, again, we love banter, we love humour. Long as I talk about this line, right? So Dimitri, there's a line. So we might just get to the line, but we just don't cross the line. And if we go too far, then it is a responsibility of the manager and the owner to make sure that that it doesn't happen. So
it's funny until it's not.
It's funny until it's not. Yeah. And again, what you got to think about is you've now got evidence.
Good question. I was just going to say exactly that. So what I would recommend is have a policy and procedure in place on when and how to use it. If it's just a chitter chat, then potentially maybe it's not necessarily to have it going out of hours when I'm not sure what business you're in, Dimitri, whether it's shift work or whatever. So I would recommend having policy procedure in place, give guidelines. It's hard to manage people if you don't have those guidelines in place as well. So have the guidelines in place and caskets and coffins. So I see where the humour's coming from then as well. So, maybe make sure that people don't have access to it when they're at home. So if they haven't got, if they've got laptops at home, make sure that they turn them off, for example.
Rules. It's just create the rules. Just create the rules. What's a good operating rhythm in the business? What's acceptable? What's not acceptable?
Well, each business is on its own, right? So there's no right or wrong here, but obviously you don't want to be in breach of any legislation. But if you've got a really good culture, then there's no reason why you can't have communications and have those open communications. So
I can certainly tell you what not to do through WhatsApp, because we've had Christmas parties that have gone to another level, or a race day where we're going into racing season that's gone to another level. That's really backfired on the business because alcohol comes out with the biggest bit of truth, right? So again, you have a code of conduct. You want to make sure that what you're doing. I just go back to the word. It's professional. It's professional. And again, if you've got that, if I use the word stupidity happening in your business, then think about the person who wants to have a career or be part of the business. They're going to sit back and reflect: is this the right company for me? And then you might lose a key staff member. So thanks, Dimitri. So again, focusing on the culture of your business. So Alison, take us through this.
So if you focus on the culture in your business, and if you've got really good culture, you'll have open and honest communication. And that is obviously a theme that we will continue to repeat over and over. Work out what will work best for the business and the employees. So it's got to be that boomerang as well. So it's not just, this is my business, we're going to do it my way. What will work for your employees as well. Be proactive rather than a reactive one. Get your processes in place. Make sure you have your communications up to date and involve the team as well. Become an employer of choice, which is just making sure, again, the 90% plus, but also being really engaging and rewarding for the employees as well, and follow best practice. So even if it's not required legislatively, what would be the best practice? What's going to make you be better than your competitors? What will make you stand out and have people wanting to come work for you?
I think what's important is and again, I've done it. I've just, I've been on my game plan, if I can say that, right? But I've done a few sessions of recent where we talk about what is a good operating rhythm, what is best practice, what is going to take this business to the next level, and then how do you get your, the first thing is, number one, if I can say it, the owners or the managers who run the business, they've all got to be on the same page, because if they've got that in place and they're all following it and it's drifting through, it'll drift through the business. If I've got some on board and some are not on board, then all that's going to do is create more dysfunction within the actual business. And what we don't want is sides. So I think what's important is, if I just talk a little bit about this, that just the value of planning, right? So so I get this from, the HR Coach Institute, which we're a member of. And if you think about it, what we need to do as a company is, number one, is we need to work out, well, organisational measurement and planning. So what is our plan with our business? And if we're talking about behaviours and culture, this is what's staff related, then, you know, what do we need to do to put into place that's going to make us more effective? Now, as you'll see over there on the number 2 and number 3, you know, we need to have that HR process and systems in place and that governance in place, because that is all about minimising our risk. So if we can minimise our risk, and you can throw in WHS or OHS into that too if you want, but that is all about how we minimise our risk within the actual business. But what if we look on the other side, which is on the left-hand side of that screen, that performance management. And again, we're going to talk about what is performance management and how is it used. But again, it's about having those conversations with people about, I'm happy with your performance, I'm not happy with your performance, right? And, you know, what are your aspirations and what can we do to try and improve, you know, your, if I can say, you know, your job satisfaction, you know, your well-being within the company. And then I think we look at doing things like workplace improvement, so training sessions, good meetings, you know, and again, I think that's a lot of companies engage, you know, my services and David's services to go and do things like, you know, personality profiling or employer engagement surveys and stuff like that, or team building stuff to try and get the culture of that business to that next level. Because when you're on a winning team, you know, they're all saying, an athlete will tell you, getting up there is one thing, staying up there is something else. But if we look at all the businesses and you follow the book of Jim Collins, Good to Great, which is we're a big advocate for, that's part of our catchphrase of our mission, you know, it is all about putting those right best practices in place and getting you know, the team on board in taking the direction of where you want to take it. So this is what we call a strategic action model, and the way it works is very simple. Some companies have high strategy, or they've got low strategy, or they've got high action activity or low action activity. If I've got low action activity and high strategy, I could be a startup. So the startup is, you know, I've got my strategy, I've got to get the activity going to make it happen. If I've got low action activity and low strategy, it could be that, you know, I'm exiting the market. You know, the businesses, the people are not following the strategy, the activity is not there. All of a sudden, we're in damage control, we're in a big bucket of holes, and no one can save us. If I've got high strategy, high action activity, where everything is linked and people are on the same page, following the direction of the company that's been created, then these businesses have an employer staff satisfaction rate of 75% plus. If it's in the yellow, it's somewhere between, you know, 67 to 74%. And if it's in the red, so what that means is I've got a lot of action activity happening. People are not following our strategy, so we're living in a vicious circle. And unfortunately, that's, you know, we were thrown into that. Every one of us were thrown into that. We don't like talking about that COVID thing, but that was exactly what happened to most businesses. But now it's about how we trade out of it. So if it's in the yellow, you know, it could be a management issue. If it's in the green, we pause for growth. And if it's in the red, well, then that could be, you know, a bit of a disaster. We run a lot of these surveys, and I can show you some more information about that. You know, probably the lowest one we've had, you know, this year that we've done was around that 48% satisfaction. That means that 50% of people come to work unhappy every day.
Very low.
And then another one was 93%. Now, again, the two different businesses, chalk and cheese. One's got high energy, motivation, direction, and one still working on trying to, you know, work that out. So if you thought, you know, there's more information on our website if you want to know a bit about that, but and I'll show you some of the reports later, but it is about getting that insightful information. So that old saying, you can't manage what you can't measure, you know, put some measurements in place and get yourself in a situation where, what are the teams saying? Are they on board? You know, is our communication right? Is our, you know, direction of how we're running this business, is that correct?
So just based on that, you've done 6 already this month and you've got another 2?
Oh, in management training?
Yeah.
I've done, so for the month of October, I'll be running, I've got another one next week. 6 effective management training sessions, right? And that is all about, you know, that best practice and getting that on. And part of what's in that training is about understanding the difference between a leader and a manager. So again, like if we go through this, and maybe Alison, I'll hand over to you, so we just swap and change.
Yeah, but there's neither right nor wrong with a leader or a manager. It depends on the role in the business and what you're looking for. But a leader would be defined as someone who collaborates with their team. They inspire others. They're doers. They work with the team to get the job done. They coach, mentor, empower others, and they cope with change. So if change comes, they work with it and then they help the team to work with it as well.
Yeah, and for me, I'm massive on they drive the vision. Leaders drive the vision. This is the outcome we want to achieve, and they're very big on painting that picture to their team. And then the manager's role is
they look at stats more. So they'll measure, they'll do reports, they'll focus on the progress, they'll implement any necessary changes based on the reports and the measures. They cope with complex projects, and they will direct other people rather than work with them. So there's just some examples of the differences between the two.
Yeah, and I think when we go back into, anyone's done training with me, I'm massive on, you've got to wear both hats, right? So there are people out there that like the manager's role, so they go through reports and that's how they manage through reports and stuff like that. And there are others that really drive the energy. You've got to have a bit of both, and you've got to make sure we've got it, you're in it, you understand how both roles work. And if you think about this, managers do things right while leaders do the right thing. So that's a really interesting statement, but that's a statement that that's in our training material, and that's because I want to show leadership and I want people to come on the ride with us. But if you do the wrong thing or you're not, and we just had Dimitri talk about the WhatsApp. So if there's something there that's not appropriate, that's where my manager's hat comes on straight away, and we don't wait for the review. We deal with it right then and there and say, listen, what you've done is not acceptable, and we set the standards. At the same time, you can't manage what you can't measure. So good managers will look at statistical stuff and go, right, I can see that we've got gaps here and gaps there and gaps here.
Yeah.
And then, it's the same person, by the way. And that leader then goes, right, well, how are we going to benefit this? So if I got David to this skill level, this is going to avoid a gap within our actual business. So I just absolutely love it when we go into a company and we see people that have that real visionary, this is what we need to do with a business, but really don't know how to get there. And that's about putting those milestones in place. And we can tell you, 16 years in business, nearly 17 years, we can go into a company that is if dysfunctional, and we'll tell you it'll take you somewhere between 12 to 18 months, sometimes 2 years to turn that around. And sometimes we have, clients say, well, we've got to do it within the next 3 months. It physically cannot happen that way, right? Because you ended up with a team. But, it's almost a case of, the first 6 months we're sorting things out. The next 6 months we're implementing things. And then the next 6 months we're excelling things and taking it to the next level. And then before you know it, you've got yourself a very high profitable business. So what does a good leader look like? Well, again, we've spoken about this and we're echoing it, that good, clear communication. And I think, and again, I'm bringing in my training of the stuff that we believe in and we know it works. But, one of the things that I really encourage is every quarter, bring your business back to our common goals, what we're trying to achieve, bring the team together, and then realign that communication, those goals and objectives, and get them going again. And we always see, every time that's done properly, a massive take up within the business.
Yeah.
We want to listen to the team. So again, I always say that 90% of the ideas on how to run a business lies within your business, and I get paid a very good living for going to facilitate that, extracting that from the team, and then rehashing that back into the business. I think having empathy, is really important. And I think that empathy with our team, being open to receive feedback, having a positive attitude, and providing support to other team members. And again, it's interesting because I've done this webinar. I wrote my newsletter yesterday for this month, but a leader's got to be on song, right? A leader's got to be on song. They cannot let their guard down no matter what is happening in the business. And again, we saw that through COVID. So the owners that lost their cool and got really frustrated and angry with the team and the whole situation, disengaged their team. And for the guys that that were going through the pain, they tried very, very hard to stay positive. And I'm working with a client at the moment. Things are not going well. And one of the things I've said to him is, mate, you need to surround yourself with positive people. You need to look at what's working well in your business, and you've got to keep working on what's working well. And you've got to embrace your team, because if you lose that leadership, what will happen is team members will start to do the value equation. Should I be here or should I not be here? So I think that's really important. I've just got a comment there. What's Dimitri said? In fact, already had this presentation, Colin, in a live last week. Still interesting. Was great. Thanks a lot. Beautiful. Thank you, Dimitri. All right. And again, what does a good manager look like? Right. So again, it's the same thing. It's like, clear communication, the establishment or establishing of clear goals. And one of the things we talk about is don't move the goalposts. So that was a conversation that happened, in a session I've recently done is, we finally get to here, we look like celebrating success and then the goalposts move. Well, that's not gonna work. Having some form of strategic a plan. And again, I'm massive on, when we look at a plan, financially, what are our targets, whether it be revenue or what is something that people can follow? We look at everything within the business, customer output or customer service, our marketing strategy, our sales strategy, our systems processes, our people. We really develop that, and then we share that with the team. And again, that just enhances that, that commitment of, I want to be here, I love my job, we're going somewhere. And again, by the way, when we hear, oh, it's hard to find people, it's hard to recruit. If you've got this plan in place and you actually talk to that in an interview, then that person's saying, I want to come and work for you because you've got strategy within your business. They're not afraid to delegate tasks. And again, you don't have to do everything, right? So that's the beautiful thing. And of recent, we did an offsite with our team in August before Lorraine and I went overseas. And it talked about accountability. And I don't run our team meetings anymore. That is now empowered and it runs through the business. And that was an outcome of what the team wanted to do. And I think that has worked beautifully, right? So it takes pressure away from, you don't have to do everything. That's what I want to say. Align the team with company goals, ensure, projects, tasks are carried out as per the plans and the budgets. And that critical thinking. So like, so we've got a problem. What can we do to fix this? How can we improve and get that team on board? And again, all of that contributes to, I feel part of the organisation or the company. And one of the words that I use or statements I use is your team become emotionally connected to the business. So if they're emotionally connected to the business, that means they care, they give a damn. Now, emotionally connected doesn't mean that I can WhatsApp you at 11 p.m. at night or anything like that. So again, this is part of what that role is. Is there any comments on that that people want to add into the chat box? And Dimitri, you must be jumping out of your skin because you've had a.
I think he's left.
He's left. You've had a full dose of me, poor bloke, of a day and a half. So again, I think it's it's important. Okay, so Laura Way will continue on. So topic 3, which is around linking strategy to people and performance. Now, Alison, this is a really interesting one, right? Because I'm all about, just how important it is about documenting stuff, that record keeping, and making sure that we are aligned when it comes to driving those performance outcomes. Like, I'll relate it back to sport, whether it be AFL or netball, let's use those two teams, or NRL, like everyone's got a role to play, everyone's got a position to play, and that's what makes a business tick.
Yeah.
So if you're not driving the performance outcomes, who is? So when we go into a company and we talk about performance management, when I was younger in the workforce, I used to have a leader come over and say, I'm going to performance manage you. And the moment he mentioned that word performance management, the first thing that came to my mind was I'm in trouble, especially when they said, get your ass into the office. I need to have a real straight talk conversation with you just to set that all up.
How long ago was that?
That's a few years ago, right? But I was never the best behaved person in a business, right? So, but again, I think that's part of, getting this understanding. And I think one thing for sure is with your team, you need to start to educate them about what is performance management and what does that process look like. So Alison, if you can take this through this, I think it's brilliant, this slide.
Yep. So performance management is not just, as Colin said, calling someone in when they want to have a serious conversation. There's a whole life cycle on it. So it starts with job analysis. Do you have really clear and concise job descriptions, position descriptions? Have you set KPIs and accountabilities for the employee? Do they know what they need to do to be successful in their role? Recruitment and onboarding, so selecting the talent, how do you do that? Have you got a great job advert? Is it based on the job description itself? Have you set the expectations? Have you made clear to them your mission, vision, values so that they are aligned with the business as well? Have you set the performance standards right from the start? Reward and recognition. Again, this goes back to an employer of choice. Identify great performance. So don't just wait until something goes wrong. Always highlight when things are fabulous and going great. So reward the great performances as well. Give that feedback. Reinforce the values and the behaviours expected of the employee and for the business. Performance appraisals, set the expectations and accountabilities. A lot of businesses vary on this, and we get asked quite often how often someone should have performance appraisals within the business. We would always recommend quarterly at the most, and then some businesses only like them to do them biannually or annually. Annually, we feel is a little bit too long between conversations, but again, it's going to depend on you and the business. Disciplinary processes. So if you set the performance standards, are you coaching poor performers and have you provided feedback? And this is really, really critical, especially if you are looking at removing someone from the business. Have you set them up to fail? Have you provided them with every opportunity to make the necessary improvements before you go down that path as well? Otherwise, it could lead you into some hot water with Fair Work. Learning and development, so skills gap analysis, coaching and mentoring, training and skill development. So again, goes back to that skills map and developmental and training sessions, succession planning, identify your high performers and career planning and how you can go about mapping out their journey within the business as well.
And that's the whole end-to-end of performance management,
yeah.
Right? So I'm not getting so that you know I like to change the language in a company, like we call it like we're doing performance coaching, or and when we're doing an appraisal rather than performance management. And if it's performance cancelling, well, that means that I'm in trouble, I'm underperforming, or it's misconduct or something like that. And again, having that clear, I think, is really, really important. And when we go into companies, it's really interesting that we can see that the different generations that are in what I mean by age generations that are in the training all have a totally different perspective of what performance management is. So that alone speaks loud words that, how important it is to get on the same page. So linking performance to reviews. So Al, take us through this, please.
So linking back to the performance reviews, you can provide valuable feedback on their activities and their productivity, set the clear guidelines and expectations, make sure that the business is both professional and well organised. Staff want to be part of the improvement process. So then you've got that buy-in, and that says to you that they want to continue to stay. They're invested in you and the business as well. That's exactly what you want. Identify where the employee needs to develop, grow and improve, and align everything back to your business objectives and your strategy as well.
So if I can just share with you just some motivation, right? So motivation from an owner, and I think motivation from a staff. So, we talk about incentives or reward and all the above, and what makes a really good workplace. But if there's something I think, we achieved a really good result was because people ask me this question, do we pay bonuses and what do we do and stuff like that? But I think, again, it comes back to what you want to do as a business, right? And I'm not a believer, if you're in a sales environment, yes, you need to have targets and that, but if you're not, and there are companies that are on this webinar that are not, what does incentives look like, or what does that look like? And I think, if I go back to, we finished the end of the financial year last year. We then gave our team a bonus that they didn't expect. So that created an injection of motivation. And then the following week, we did performance appraisals and we gave some increases to our team. So that really ingrained, if I can say, the team. But then what happened was what come after that was the biggest month we've ever had in our life in the business. So I think, again, this is part of that motivation if you can, do it right. And then I think, sometimes it's the 1%ers that actually, that we do to try and help. And this is always a conversation like, well, what do we do? And I talk about, the 1%ers of, maybe, that gratitude of thank you for doing the role. Or thank you for going above and beyond, or thank you for going that, that extra mile. That goes a long way with a team member. So I think, again, you know, what's really important is how you build your business so it's a high performing business. But most importantly, you're not doing all the work. It's your team that are doing the work. That's the magic, right? And this just all comes from training, which is our next slide. So when we talk about training, you know, I look at it, what are the outcomes, right? So the outcomes for staff is self-satisfaction, feeling valued and empowered. They have a purpose, they're more productive, more job satisfaction and more rewards. So part of our appraisals that we did, we asked what's some of your ambitions? You know, what would you like to learn within the business? And everyone was a bit different. And a lot from the HR team, a lot of them were, I want to learn more about work cover, return to work, right? So we put them onto some courses for that. We had one lady who said, I want to learn about payroll. I just really want to become really good at it. So we put on a payroll course. And then we had, you know, David, who we're developing to come, you know, I had him doing one-on-one training with, you know, to learn about, you know, our profiling and all the above. But the outcome of that, if I can say, is we've made a commitment and we've done something about it. That's the point that I want to make. And I think what that does is, you know, people can go and ring up Alison and try and poach Alison for the business, and I'm not scared of that because they got a hard act to follow. All right, because we just make it so valuable that, you know, our team is a high performing team. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, no, it is. It's very true.
Yeah, so I think it's just so important. And then, you know, you as an owner, or the business outcomes, are skillful and talented employees, the productivity increases, it reduces wasted time, less mistakes and rework, better customer outcomes. And that big one that every business owner wants to live and breathe by is that more profitability. So, so again, like everyone wants to get results, but I will tell you, it is the behaviours and the activities we do behind the scenes is what gets you the results. And I'll argue that with anyone because we've seen it time and time again. So how do I do it? So leadership. So for an example, you know, as it says there, lead your team. Explain what you're trying to achieve as a company, our vision of where we want to go. I talk about have strategy. So you want to update and refresh your business plan. And we have a process in this business that we go and coach with other businesses. Is we say refresh your policies every 2 years, refresh your position descriptions every 2 years. If a new policy comes in as new legislation, we'll have to implement that. But that is part of your, you know, we're a well operating business. You want to get clarity and buy-in with all your key stakeholders of the business. So again, there was ways of doing that. You can get an outside person to do a survey. We've just recently done that for a company, and it's got some really good information there. But you want to get that, you know, happening. And again, working together empowers others. And I think for me, it's about having great team meetings. And, you know, again, this morning we were in a session. How can we improve our team meetings? What can we do to get better?
Don't just have them for the sake of
don't just have them for the sake of having it, right? So again, that is, you know, that's part of your culture of what you do, and that celebrate the wins and the milestone moments, which I think we do very, very well, and that recognition and praise. We have a gong. We hit the gong every time we have some form of celebration in the business, and all of then that creates, you know, really good culture. Okay, so Alison and I have gone through our presentation, and, you know, do we have any questions? And while we're getting some questions through, I'm just going to switch and show you an example of, you know, when you do an engagement survey, this is the type of report you actually get. So you can actually be benchmarked, and feel free to keep putting those questions through, and you can actually be benchmarked. So again, with the strategy that we put up before. So for an example, this is an executive summary. This particular business got a score of 70%. So everyone, it's anonymous, people put in. And then basically an average of a low performing business of 59, an average is at 68, and a high performing business is at 77%. For me, I want it well into the 80s. I want that 85, 90%, because it's possible if we actually put all the stuff that we've just talked about in this webinar into place. And you can get a breakdown of people, employees, all the above. And it just goes through and it gives you a breakdown on each section.
Oh,
Saver. Sorry. So
thanks, Mandy.
Thanks, Mandy. So let me just push this over here.
The beach.
There we go. That's right. So again,
does everyone see it now?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So again, so you can start to see. So here we go. Now we've got See, that's what I love about accountability. You've all given it to me. Lovely. So again, you can see, that was your job, Al. Why did you do that? I know. So you can start to see like some of the scores and stuff like that, and the breakdown of different generations. I mean, again, you do a survey. It's what you do with it is what counts, and that's just valuable information from the team. Now, a toxic environment, you know, they're going to have a bit of a dig, and sometimes it's hard to swallow. But as you can see, you know, employer survey strategy with survey is high. Company performance is average, but the team satisfaction is low. So again, how do we get that balance, you know, working better? Because without a team, we can't grow a business. This is just an example of a template. If anyone would like to see this, then by all means, feel free to give us a buzz, email us, and we'll send it through. But what also comes with this, it's my magic, doing my magic, Al, can I do it?
Yes, you can.
Is, just give me 1 sec. Hang on, I've got to show you my beach again, or the
Why is it not going over?
I don't know why it's not going over, but it is. Here we go. There it is. Come on. I just love it when things work perfectly. And this is just
doesn't want to go.
And this is what happens in a business. So I've got them both here. So that should open up. Bring the whole thing across.
Technical difficulties, everyone.
Technical difficulties. And I'm not, you know what, you can't be good at everything. So I am not an IT expert.
No, it's not
But what I can do is I can go another way.
Let's share your other screen.
I'll share my other screen. So here we go. So let me just, give me 1 sec. Because now I'm challenged, guys. You can see that I'm very, very challenged. So stop sharing. There we go. And if I share now, and I share one, if I share this application, hopefully you should see it. Yeah, okay. So you all should be seeing this right now. Yes, correct. So basically now I'm getting the feedback from each team member on what we can do. So for an example, training and development, you know, it appears, can everyone see it? Raise your hand, it appears you can see it. All right, so we've got some questions that people want to ask. So if anyone wants that information, just let us know. So let me go to the chat. All right, so righto.
This is why.
Here we go.
Yes, Mandy.
This is why we work with people and not IT. Absolutely, Mandy. Yeah. So are there any questions you want to throw out to us? Please, I think that would be fantastic. Any questions?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Okay. So there's some free downloads off our website, and I know I've got the whole slides out the way, and that's just my big finish to the very end. But again, guys, if we hope that we've definitely educated you about you know, how to build that culture within a business. As we said before, we love what we do. It's not work. It's what we do. We're very good at it. I have a motor mechanic who's really passionate about, you know, engines and stuff like that. He looks after my car. I look after, you know, running businesses, and Alison, you and your team look after running it. But we just want to say thank you very much for being part of this webinar. And if you really enjoyed this webinar, then please give us a Google review, because that's very important to us. And if you're not happy, then please give us a call, and I'm more than happy to have a chat to you about how we can improve. We love what we do, as we said, and I think most important thing is we're here to help you with your business, and it can be a lonely world sometimes out there being a business owner.
Yeah.
So when things are great, it's good, but when things are not great, then you need someone to talk to. So that concludes our webinar, and I just want to say thank you very, very much to everyone for attending, and enjoy the rest of the week. So yeah, that concludes our webinar.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Oh, hang on, we've got 2 in the chat. Well done, well done. Now it's now, see, here we go. Here we go. Thank you for very forward weather. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, there you go. They're all just compliments. That's it. That's what we live for. Beautiful. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of the day.
Bye.